everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rhiannon and today I'm giving you guys my London book haul. So in case some of you don't know, I did go for a trip to London last week. It was a 4-day trip and it was basically a self-care type of thing where I went to see some West End shows and I met up with my booktube friends. I have vlogged that experience though and I will leave it linked up above and down below for you guys, so you can definitely check that out if you want to see what I got up to. But this is going to be the video where I show you all the books that I bought whilst there. Before we dive into that though, please don't forget to click the subscribe button if you haven't already. It truly does mean the world to me and it helps my channel to grow as well. Right, without further ado, let's just dive into the fun stuff, which is of course the books. First up is a book that I bought with Caris from Caris's Corner. We did a lot of exploring whilst in London and she did actually take me to a small Foyles bookshop, which is not the main Foyles shop. It's by Westminster that way and I personally never knew it existed, but I'm very glad that she showed it to me because we had a really fun time exploring and I did also pick up a book, and that one is The Asawa Murders by Rico Onda. This is one I've been interested in for the longest time. I did have it on my wish list, but when I saw it there in person I just could not leave it. And I didn't know actually, but it does say on the back cover it's the winner of the Mystery Writers of Japan Award for Fiction, which is also really cool, and now I definitely have high hopes for it. So it does just say, on a stormy summer day in the 1970s, the Osawas, owners of a prominent local hospital, host a large birthday party in their villa on the Sea of Japan. The occasion turns to tragedy when 17 people die, poisoned by cyanide placed in their drinks. The only clues to what might have happened are a cryptic verse that could be the killers, and the fact that the Osawa's blind daughter Hisako was the only family member spared death. When the prime suspect commits suicide soon after, his actions seem to seal his guilt, but also ensure his motives will remain forever a mystery. Inspector Teru, an origami-obsessed ex-chain-smoker, is convinced that Hisako had a role in the crime, as are many in the town, including the author of a best-selling book about the murders written 10 years after the incident. Several decades later, the truth is revealed through a skillful juggling of testimony by different voices: family members, witnesses and neighbours, police investigators, and of course, the mesmerising Hisako herself. So this sounds like an absolute wild ride. If you don't know though, I love a good murder mystery. It's one of my favourite genres, and I also have started getting into Japanese translated fiction, especially murder mysteries as well. So this just sounds like my perfect type of book. I honestly cannot wait to get to it and I'm so glad that I finally decided to pick it up. And then speaking of Caris, she did also buy me 2 books for my birthday. If you don't know, my birthday was on July 3rd and Caris did want to give me her presents in person, which is why I have them to show you now. I'm not going to talk about them too much here though because I have unboxed them and talked about them in depth in my London vlog, so again please do check that out if you want more detail. But the first book she got me was These Shallow Graves by Jennifer Donnelly, and this is a murder mystery set in New York in the 1890s, so again perfect for my murder mystery kick at the minute, and this does come highly recommended by Caris herself as well, so another one I'm excited to get to. And secondly, she got me 6 Tudor Queens, Catherine of Aragon, the True Queen by Alison Weir. If you don't know, Caris and I did actually go to see 6 together in London, and so it's only fitting that she gift me a book following the Tudor Queens. This is another set of books that I've been interested in for the longest time. I've always been fascinated by the Tudors and the Tudor Queens especially, and as you can probably tell, this one does focus on Catherine of Aragon, who was Henry VIII's first wife. Moving on from that one though, the next book is rather fitting. The next time I went to Waterstones, I decided to pick up a copy of 6 Tudor Queens, Anne Boleyn, A King's Obsession by Alison Weir. Like I've just mentioned, I've wanted to read these books for a while. Anne Boleyn is definitely a queen that holds my interest a lot more. I feel like she is the wife that everyone knows the most about, and so I am interested to dive into this and learn more about her history. So now I have the first 2 books in this set of books. There are 6 in total, obviously, to represent the 6 wives. I definitely want to collect all of them. I am planning on starting this one next month, hopefully, and I honestly can't wait to dive in and learn some more about these queens. Right, I'm sorry if the angles changed at all. I just had to quickly close my window because the kids outside were making such a racket and it was really distracting, so I'm sorry if you could hear that. Moving on though, next up I'm going to show you the books I bought whilst on my trip with Rachel from Rachel Kerris, Chloe from Chloe Reads Books, and Emily from Emily Kathleen Reads. I met up with them on Sunday and a lot of damage was done. The first book I bought was Cujo by Stephen King, and if you don't know, Stephen King's books are slowly being re-released in this edition. They are quite colourful, they're quite different, but I believe they're being re-released because it's Carrie's 50th anniversary, I think. And I've never read Stephen King before, but when I saw these editions, I just could not pass them up. I do currently have 4 of them. I have Dr. Sleep, Firestarter, Salem's Lot, and The Shining, and I needed Cujo and Christine to complete my current collection. Christine is so hard to find. I haven't managed to get my hands on that yet, but I saw this one there and again could not pass up the opportunity to add it to my collection. For this one it says, once upon a time not so long ago, a monster came to the small town of Castle Rock, Maine. Cujo is a huge St. St. Bernard dog, the best friend Brett Camber has ever had. Then one day, Cujo chases a rabbit into a bolt hole, except it isn't a rabbit warren anymore. It's a cave inhabited by rabid bats. And Cujo falls sick, very sick, and the gentle giant who once protected the family becomes a vortex of horror, inexorably drawing in all the people around him. I'm honestly not sure if I want to read this, guys. I don't like to see any animals get harmed in any way, shape or form, so this is going to be a difficult one for me. Saying that though, I do want to read Stephen King books. I'm not quite sure where to start. A lot of people have told me to start with Carrie, so I might end up doing that, but even so, I'm glad to have this now. It does look cool with the rest of my books, and hopefully I can get Christine soon as well. Next up, I got The Children of Decosta by Natalie Haynes. I feel like I'm going to say this about every single book in this haul, but this is one I've been eyeing up for so long. If you don't know, I am fascinated by anything relating to ancient Greece, so the mythology, the classics, the plays, anything like that just catches my interest straight away, and this is one that I've heard so many good things about, and I know it's a staple to have in your collection if you do enjoy Greek myth retellings or Greek myth history, and so when I saw it in Waterstones, I just could not resist. For this one, it says Jacosta is just 15 when she is ordered to marry the King of Thebes, an old man she has never met, but it is her duty to produce an heir that will alter the course of her life forever. Ismene is the same age when she is attacked in the palace she calls home. Since the day of her parents' tragic deaths, it was the one place she felt safe, but with a single act of violence, all that is about to change. With the turn of these two events, a tragedy is set in motion, but not as you know it. The Children of Decosta follows the lives of two forgotten women from the myths of Oedipus and Antigone, casting fresh light on these ancient and engrossing stories. I have read 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes, which again focuses on the women's perspective during the Trojan War. I feel like she's so good at writing from the women's perspective during the ancient times, and it is just scary and fascinating to see how these women would have reacted in that time period where women were considered lesser beings and the men were obviously regarded as superior. I'm very glad to have this one now. I have just read Daughters of Sparta, which is a new release that focuses on Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra, and again that is very much a novel that gives the women their voice, and because of that I'm in such a mood now to read more stories relating around Greek myths, so this is perfect, and I feel like this is one that I'm going to read soon as well. Whilst we're talking about Greek myth retellings, another book that I picked up is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I've already read this and I do have another copy, but it is the Bloomsbury Modern Classic edition, and it is absolutely stunning, and I don't really want to read from that copy anymore. I want to keep it in pristine condition. I know some people are going to have a problem with that, but it's just what I want to do personally. But because I love this book so much, I wanted to pick up a physical copy. So I have only read this the one time, and I did actually listen to the audiobook, which I did enjoy, but I feel like I would get more out of it if I read the book physically as well. This book focuses on Achilles and Patroclus and the relationship that they formed whilst growing up together and fighting the Trojan War. I will just read you the back as well, just so you guys can get more context, but it says, Greece in the Age of Heroes. Awkward young Prince Patroclus has been exiled to the court of King Peleus. Despite their differences, Peleus's golden boy Achilles befriends the shamed prince. As they grow into young men, their bond blossoms into something deeper, despite the displeasure of Achilles' mother, the sea goddess Thetis. But when word comes that Helen of Sparta has been kidnapped, Achilles must go to war in distant Troy and fulfill his destiny. Torn between love and fear for his friend, Patroclus goes with him. I don't want to say much more than this. I will say that this is quite a sad book. I did have tears in my eyes, especially towards the end. If you have an interest in the Trojan War, then you will obviously know how events unfurl and what eventually happens to these characters, but even so, the journey that you go on in this book is just wild, and it really did pull at my heartstrings. I agree with Bloomsbury, this is definitely a modern classic. I feel like it's one that everyone should read, and like I keep saying, I love Greek mythology and Greek myth retellings, and so this is just one that I absolutely adore. And then because I was with Rachel, Chloe and Emily, who do read from a range of genres, but Rachel in particular reads contemporary, I finally decided to pick up Heartstopper Volume 1. I have heard nothing but amazing things about this, and I have been wanting to pick it up, but it's the fact that it is a contemporary romance graphic novel, and that does just make me feel a little bit anxious, because if you don't know, I don't personally read a lot of contemporary. I barely read it, to be honest with you, and so this is a risk for me. I feel like I'm gonna love it. I did read a couple of pages on Alice Oseman's website. You can read this for free on her website, but I didn't like the fact that you don't know where one book ends and another one begins. It's just one long story, and I just prefer to have them physically and bound up into one so that I know where to stop. All I know about this one is that we follow Nick and Charlie, and I believe that one of these characters is openly gay and another one is closeted or bi. I'm not quite sure. Again, I haven't read it yet, so I'm not 100% sure about the plot or the characters or anything like that, so I might be wrong, but that is just what I gather from what people have said. And as you can probably see, it is a graphic novel. It's quite a big book. I didn't expect it to be this size, but honestly I feel like I can fly through this one pretty quickly, and I'm kind of thinking now that I might just buy all of the Heartstopper books and film a dedicated reading vlog of me reading all of them in one go. I know that Karis recently did a video like that and I really enjoyed it, and for someone who doesn't read contemporary, I think it would be interesting to see what I actually think about this book and the rest of the books in this series. I don't know if you call it a series, continuation, I'm not sure, but the rest of the Heartstopper graphic novels. And then something I've never seen before is a clearance section in Waterstones, and of course it would be very rude not to have a look, and there were actually some books that caught my eye. The first one being The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This was only £1, I don't know if you can see, and the only issue with it is that the spine is a little bit dented. Where is it? There. And other than that, it's completely fine from what I can see, so I decided to pick it up because, again, Britt Bennett is an author that I've heard a lot of good things about. I believe this is quite a popular novel. It does say here that it's shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction 2021, and again, even though it's not typically my thing, I have wanted to branch out in my reading recently, and I feel like this one's just going to be very powerful and important as well. So it says here, Stella and Desiree are identical twins growing up together in a small southern black community until at age 16 they run away. Years later, everything about their lives is different. Their families, communities, and racial identities. One sister lives with her black daughter in the same southern town she once tried to escape. The other sister secretly passes as white, and her husband knows nothing of her past. Still, separated by many miles and just as many lies, the fates of the twins remain intertwined. What will happen in the next generation when their own daughter's storylines intersect? I do actually feel like this is one I'm going to really enjoy, and the fact that I found it for £1 is just absolutely mind-blowing to me. I'm so glad that I managed to snatch it up, and I'm not sure when I'll get to it, hopefully soon, but I will let you know my thoughts on it once I do. And the other book that I got in the clearance section is Dragon Mountain by Katie and Kevin Sang. This is another one that I have already listened to. I listened to the audiobook of it, but again, when I saw this one there for £1, I could not leave it. It does also have these stunning sprayed edges that look like dragon scales, and what I didn't actually realise until I got home is that this book is signed by both authors, which I just could not believe. The only issue with this one is that it does have a rip on the back, so it's missing a bit of the back cover, and I think the front cover, yeah, the front cover is slightly bent, but you can't really see it that much. But honestly, I don't care. Once it's on my shelf, you can't tell that there's anything wrong with it, and this is a book that I really did enjoy, so when I saw it there for quite a cheap price, the fact that it's signed and has sprayed edges, I think is such a bargain for £1. So another one I had to pick up, and I'm really glad that I did. Next up, I'm going to show you some books that I bought from Forbidden Planet. Obviously, I could not go to London and not go into this store. It would just be rude. So I did go in there and have a look around, and in the books section, I stumbled upon an offer that I could not refuse. And that offer was 3 for 2 on Junji Ito books. I have been wanting to read some of Junji Ito's works for the longest time, and so when I saw this deal, I finally caved, because these are expensive no matter where you try to purchase them from, and so the fact that I got one free just made it all the better. So if you can't tell here, I have Uzumaki, Tomi, and Gyo. These are all horror mangas, and that is basically the extent of my knowledge. I've just seen people hype these up so much. The artwork looks really interesting, and again, when I saw them there and they were on offer, I could not leave them. There were other Junji Ito books there too, but these are the ones I've heard the most about, and I feel like these are the staple ones that get you into the world of Junji Ito, and then you can branch out and read the other ones. At least that's what I've gathered from other people's videos anyway. I will just read you the back of these quickly just to let you guys know what they're about. So for Gyo, it says, the floating smell of death hangs over the island. What is it? A strange-legged fish appears on the scene. So begins Tadashi and Kaori's spiral into the horror and stench of the sea. Here is the creepiest masterpiece of horror manga ever from the creator of Uzumaki, Junji Ito. Hold your breath until all is revealed. For Tomi, it says, Tomi Kawakami is a femme fatale with long black hair and a beauty mark just under her left eye. She can seduce nearly any man and drive them to murder as well, even though the victim is often Tomi herself. While one lover seeks to keep her for himself, another grows terrified of the immortal succubus. But soon they realise that no matter how many times they kill her, the world will never be free of Tomi. And then lastly for Uzumaki, it says, Kurozu-cho, a small fog-bound town on the coast of Japan, is cursed. According to Suichi Saito, the withdrawn boyfriend of teenager Kirikoshima, their town is haunted not by a person or being but a pattern. Uzumaki, the spiral, the hypnotic secret shape of the world. This bizarre masterpiece of horror manga is now available in a single volume. Fall into a whirlpool of terror. So yeah, they all sound brilliant. This is just a glimpse into some of the pages. I'm not going to show you much more, especially because I know some people don't like spirals and things like that, so I'm not going to do that to you, don't worry. But essentially, I've been interested in these books for the longest time, and because of this deal, it finally forced me to pick them up. And then the next two books are technically not ones I bought in London. I bought them the day after I came home, but I was still technically on holiday because I hadn't come home here yet. I was still at my mum's house. The first book I bought was The Castaways by Lucy Clark. Again, this is one that I did have on my wish list, but when I saw it in person, I just decided to pick it up. It sounds really interesting, kind of gives me And Then There Were None vibes by Agatha Christie, which you know I love. And I did actually see this a lot whilst I was in London, but I held myself back from picking it up there because it was more expensive there. I think I paid £4 for this one in Tesco, so definitely a lot cheaper than your average £8 for a novel. And it does just say here, you wake on a beautiful remote island, sparkling blue seas, golden sunsets, barely a footprint in the sand. Yet this is no ordinary escape. Next to the wreck of a plane, a stranger paces. Another sharpens a knife, scoring a list of the dead onto a palm tree. Others watch from the shadows of a campfire, all with untold stories and closely guarded secrets. This is no ordinary holiday. This is no ordinary island. This is no ordinary beach read. So yeah, it sounds like a mystery thriller type of novel. I'm definitely in the mood for that at the minute, especially with the weather getting warmer. I feel like thrillers are definitely a good beach read, even though this does specifically say this is no ordinary beach read, but I'm intrigued to find out. I'm really glad that I picked it up, and after I finished it I might also pass it on to my mum because she does enjoy mystery thrillers too. And then the last book I bought is one that I've seen on BookTube constantly lately, and that is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. From what I can gather, this is a dark academia murder mystery type of book, but I will just check the synopsis in a second. I actually do have another book from this author, which is The Silent Patient. I believe that was his first novel, and it is a mystery thriller. Haven't actually gotten around to that yet, but I do plan on doing so soon. I did pick it up a few weeks ago and put it down for some reason. I think I just wasn't in the mood to read a mystery thriller, but this is one I just could not ignore. It's had so much praise. Everyone I know has absolutely loved it, and I honestly just wanted to get on that hype. So it does say here, St. Christopher's College, Cambridge is a closed world to most. For Mariana Andros, a group therapist struggling through her private grief, it's where she met her late husband. For her niece Zoe, it's the tragic scene of her best friend's murder. As memory and mystery entangle Mariana, she finds a society full of secrets, which has been shocked to its core by the murder of one of its own. Because behind its idyllic beauty is a web of jealousy and rage which emanates from an exclusive set of students known only as the Maidens, a group under the sinister influence of the enigmatic Professor Edward Fosker, a man who seems to know more than anyone about the murders and the victims, and the man who will become the prime suspect in Mariana's investigation, an obsession which will unravel everything. The Maidens is a story of love and of grief, of what makes us who we are and what makes us kill. Definitely sounds like one I should enjoy, and like I said, I just could not resist the hype for this one, guys. So these are all of the books that I bought during my trip to London, which is quite excessive if you ask me. All in all, I'm so happy with the books that I chose, and I cannot wait to get to every single one of them. If you've made it this far into the video, please comment some colourful emojis down below for me. I feel like I did have a very colourful stack of books to show you today, and that is definitely going to brighten up my mood as well. Whilst you're down in the comments, please don't forget to click the like button if you liked this video, and the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. Speaking of more content, I have recently launched a Patreon page where I do upload live reading sprints and live shows, exclusive behind the scenes content, early access to some videos, and a monthly book club for some tiers as well. So if you do enjoy my content and want to support me further, please do consider joining me over on Patreon. I'm so grateful for the Patreons that I have there already. It is such a lovely space, and I would definitely love to have you there too. But that is it from me today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please do let me know down in the comments if you've read any of the books that I've bought, and if you have, please feel free to share your thoughts as well. I do love chatting to you guys down there, and it does also help me prioritize the books I'm going to read. Other than that though, thank you so much for watching. It truly does mean the world to me, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!